fajitas with a kind of a trio of salsas. We're gonna make a pico de gallo, guacamole, and corn salsa. And we're gonna make like a cilantro creme fraiche to kind of drizzle over it, some fajita veggies, and all that deliciousness. So for our flat iron steak here, I'm going to cut it up into nice little slices. That way we can kind of do a quick pan saute sear on it after we let it have a little bit of a time and a quick kind of marinade for it. I'm not cutting them too thin because I want them to have a good, substantial piece to them for it. But also not too thick because you got to be able to put it in your little fajita, your little tortilla. So we'll get these kind of sliced up. And then I'm going to season them with some Mexican fiesta seasoning, onion powder, garlic, salt, and some fresh lime juice. And here, this is from our butcher box. So I'm kind of excited. I've been trying out all the different, pieces of cutlets so that we've got and seeing how they are on here. This has some beautiful marbling. So I'm interested to see how it will try out with a like a hot pan seared like fajita on there. Now I know it will be delicious on the grill, but it's pouring rain out and it's kind of the middle of the winter. So I always like to see how other proteins will kind of try up in different ways. Here. And we're getting pretty good. Again, not too thin, not too thick, kind of that nice little chunk on here. And then our last little bit. And I have, this is about 24 ounces of flat iron steak. Get these last little bits. And then we're going to marinate them, do a really quick marinade on them. Get this last one little. Here we go. Okay. Kind of done with our cleaver. Let me give my hands a quick rinse. And before we get that, I'm going to slice up this lime over here and then we'll bring it over there so that we can use it. The lime is going to work as like our, the acidity to help break down the natural fat in the meat and make it more tender. But we'll squeeze a little bit of that over each piece of our meat. Here. Oh, this is a pretty juicy lime. You only need one slice. There we go. It's a very juicy lime. Normally you don't get them that juicy. Okay, I'm just going to use one slice because that, I think, gave me close to like a tablespoon of lime juice. There was a good amount. Okay, we're going to use some garlic salt. I sprinkle it over. Some Mexican fiesta seasoning. Kind of toss it. That lime juice will really make this flavor pop. Good shake over. And then we'll do a little bit of onion powder. And I'm going to give them a toss to kind of coat them up. But nothing too overpowering because I really want the meat to shine. I don't want it to be completely coated in a lot of spices, but enough to give you that flavor, but still give that nice meaty flavor through. We're going to toss them up, kind of coat them up in that lime juice, that Mexican fiesta seasoning, the garlic salt, and onion powder. And then we're just going to let that sit and let that lime juice start to break down that fat before we kind of sear this off here in a little bit. So we have those sitting and waiting. Let's start prepping up our fajita veggies and our salsas and our dips. So I've got here, I'm gonna bring this over in here. I've got our corn. This is about a cup of frozen fire roasted corn that I've de-thawed. So guys ready? That's gonna be the base for our corn salsa. Let's get our red onion kind of diced up for that as well. And then we'll put some red onion for our pico de gallo. And just kind of a nice smaller bits, because again, it is a salsa. We will also be using a little bit of green onion. I like the flavors of both the red onion and the green onion. The green onion adds more of that brighter, fresh onion flavor to it, where the red onion is that more mild, sweet, but with a good crunch to it. There we go. Making sure I have things. Put in half of this going into our corn salsa. And then the other half will go into our bowl for our pico. And got these little stragglers. And then we are going to have some green onions. Now these green onions, we're going to kind of put some in our corn salsa, some in our pico, and then some is also going to go into our creme fraiche, which we're going to do a nice kind of cilantro, green onion, lime juice, and garlic. It'll be nice and really bright. I'm going to take my whiter parts of my green onions, and that's going to go for our creme fraiche, and then the darker ones will go for the pico and the corn salsa. And I'll get these guys for this, because you got to have that nice little freshness for it. And it's funny, this week we made chicken shawarma on naan, and we're kind of having a similar type thing, but I don't know. I was just kind of really craving tacos tonight. Fajitas. It's kind of a finger food day, and it's, I've got a smaller crew here tonight, so it's kind of nice too as well. And we've got our green onions in there. Okay, let's get our tomatoes chopped up for our pico. I've got some plum tomatoes here. And pull out any of those. We'll see if I need all of them. But you could also use a vine ripe tomato, or you've got cherry tomatoes. A lot of those work as well. And we're going to dice these up fairly small because we're going to turn them into our little salsa. Now, if you find that your knife is snagging on your tomato skin or your onions or your peppers, you'll just need to sharpen it up. Those are my vegetables that I always know that it's time for me to sharpen it up. Get these. And I do not do seed. I keep the whole tomato in there. Nice small little dice on here. It's going. And this morning we went to the grocery store because, I was out of all of our cream and our butter last night. So I was like, after Evie's soccer game this morning, I was like, we'll stop at the grocery store. And the tomatoes were on sale. It was like one of those days where you catch it and everything's on sale. And I was like, oh, winning. The buy one, get one, or the super deals. And I think it was also, they had just restocked. So the produce was looking wonderful. And the strangest thing is, I almost got one. Now I'm kind of regretting not picking one. But they had actual yams at the grocery store. So not sweet potatoes, which most people think are the same thing as yams, but the big, huge tuber type yams that look almost like a piece of like a log or giant root there. They had them. I was very tempted to grab one. You don't see them often. And last little bit here. And then we've got this for our little pico. I think 3 is more than enough. This is going to be Evie's favorite. She just loves fresh tomatoes. Okay, we're going to add this in here with our red onions, our green onions. Fill that guy up to the tippy top. Looks like we made a bit much. That's a-okay. Put that to the side. Let me wash my hands real quick. A little slippery. And let's get our cilantro minced up for this. Now, this is the key kind of flavor for the pico and the corn salsa. It's like really, really important to have in here. Get these. Now, I will say, cilantro, I feel like, is one of those spices that you either love it or you hate it. But I'm going to say there's really no true substitute for cilantro, and you can't use dried. Dried cilantro is known as coriander. And they have, I mean, you get that little zing from the coriander, but they're completely different. Now, you can sometimes, substitute in a little bit of, parsley, but it's not going to give you that same kind of cilantro-y flavor to it. So it is one to hard to kind of, if you don't like it, you're just going to omit it, or you could do some parsley for that kind of greenish look and a little bit of that fresh herby flavor. But it's like my sister, she always swears, she's like, it tastes like dish soap. I'm like, I don't get that, but I feel like that is a common thing. Now, I have found that if you grow it yourself and you pick it and use it right away, it has that really fresh cilantro. Doesn't have so much of that enzyme in it, which a lot of people says tastes like dish soap. So you might want to try it really, really fresh. Most of the time when you get it, either at the store or in a restaurant, it's been picked for a while. Let's mince these guys up. And this is going to go in our creme fraiche and our pico de gallo and our corn salsa. And so I just don't want any really big pieces of the leaves. More a little smaller. That way that flavor kind of gets spread around everywhere. Okay. Put a nice heaping into our corn salsa. We've got one into our pico de gallo, and then the rest is going to go over here for our creme fraiche. Okay. Get my hands now, they're cilantrified. And I'm going to start getting my skillet to heat up here so it's nice and like toasty and hot when we cook off our meat here. And you know what? Let me pause. We're going to slide this over. I'm going to do my veggies first because my veggies will sit a little bit nicer for it, my fajita veggies. So I'm going to do a little dash of olive oil in here with our skillet, nice and high. I'm going to slice up my onion, some of my pepper. Some of this is going to go in my corn salsa and my pico de gallo. But I do love sauteed onions in my fajitas. It's like my favorite veggie with them. They just add so much great flavor. This is a big onion today. But we'll slice down the middle. And that way, and then we'll just do long, thin slices so that they'll caramelize up, get a nice quick, sear on them. And we'll throw in our sweet peppers. Get our first round. This is such a big pepper. Onion, I might only use half of it. Because again, we are a small crew today, which is always interesting for me when I have to make a smaller amount of food than a larger amount of food. Because cooking for a lot of people is a lot easier because I'm so used to it, That was one of the hardest things when my husband and I were like first dating and I would cook us like dinner and stuff like that. I wasn't good at cooking for us all out, so we'd have so much leftovers. But because I grew up in a large family, but now it's every now and then I always sit there and I'm like, oh, I'll make a small, but then we have way more than enough food for this. We'll get our peppers here. I'll do some of them nice, long, skinny for our fajitas. And then I'll cut these skinny, but then we'll dice them up and add them into our corn salsa and our pico de gallo. And I will say this meal is all about the dips, You got to love the dips. It's like what the show Only Murders in the building, and the one who plays Martin Short, he like exists on dips only. And I'm like, I feel you. I love dips too. You know, it's so delicious. It's probably why I love nachos so much, because it's really just a bunch of different dips on chips and melted cheese. Okay, get these minced up. For our pico. Put some in here, and the rest is going to go into my corn salsa. Now these two are pretty much made. The only thing that's really left in them is we need to add garlic salt and fresh lime juice. Fresh lime juice is going to be the best part about it, because it gives you that fresh kind of little zing to it. But it also brings all the flavors together. Give these onions a quick toss. Yeah. I'm going to break them apart. And I'm cooking these nice and high because I want them to get a little bit of a char on them so that you get that nice little fajita sizzle.
Can you go over what all the salsas are going to be?
Yes. So here we have our corn salsa, which has our fire roasted corn, red onions, green onions, cilantro, and sweet peppers. And here we have our pico de gallo, which has red onions, green onions, tomatoes, sweet peppers, and cilantro. And then we'll add lime juice and garlic salt to both of those. This is going to be our guacamole, and this is going to be our crème fraîche, which will be like a nice little sauce we can drizzle over. It's going to be a cilantro kind of garlic, green onion crème fraîche with some fresh lime juice. Let's get this a nice little squeeze. And again, the lime juice really brings it together. And squeeze it out. Now, sometimes I've been lucky. This was a very, very juicy lime. But if your lime isn't as juicy as this, you're going to use about a half a lime. That's typically what I normally use. But this is like a very juicy lime. Okay. Starting to get that good sizzle on my onions here. I can smell it. Beautiful. And that's what you want, a nice high heat so you can get that nice sizzle on there. We're going to throw it in our sliced up peppers and get those cooking. I always just like to give our onions just a little bit on their own. Nice little toss. We'll let that cook up here. My garlic salt will grab over here. And we'll do a nice little stir of garlic salt. You don't need much in here, just a little bit goes a long way. And get a spoon, and then we can give them a toss. I'll grab a fork for our guac here in just a second. But we'll give this a nice mix all of those ingredients together so we can have our little salsa trio here. Now with the corn, they typically always use fresh or frozen corn because it works the best for it, but you can use canned corn. Canned corn's a little bit sweeter, which is why I like the frozen corn. Fresh corn doesn't work because if you use it, you'd have to blanch it, which is a whole nother bit of work where you drop it in some boiling water for, 30 seconds to a minute to give it a quick kind of cook on it. So frozen's where it's at. It's one of the few frozen vegetables I keep in my freezer. I only keep two, peas and corn. Give this a nice toss. We've got a good little hot sear on these veggies. Okay, let's get our avocados out for our guacamole. Looking pretty good. And this one's getting close to, it was just in the nick of time. Found it in my fruit drawer in the refrigerator, and I was like, gotta use this guy up.
You have a question? Do you use garlic salt as a salt substitute?
Yes, I do. So I use garlic salt as a salt substitute because it gives you the great salty flavor, but that garlic is such a flavor enhancer as well. Um, and I really love it. And I find out when I do it, I use less salt because I feel like the flavor is a bit more powerful, but it has less sodium in it. And so I really, really like, I love it. I made the switch, I want to say like a little over a decade ago, and I love it. It makes all my vegetables taste so much better. Now, there are times when I don't use garlic salt because garlic isn't the right flavor profile for what I'm making, but that's far and few between. Here is our lovely charred fajita veggies right here. I think we're just about ready on them. And then I'm going to slide these off to the side. You want them to have, this nice little blackened char to give you that nice smoky flavor, but you don't want them to be too cooked all the way through to where they're too like overcooked. You want them to have that crispness to them, a little bit of that crunch. Gives you a nice little fresh part. We're going to heat up our oil here for our steak that we can start searing off. Let's get our guacamole. For our guacamole, I'm going to use half a lime juice in this one. That is going to help keep the guacamole a nice, vibrant green, but it also gives you the right citrus notes, and it pairs really well with the garlic salt. And I keep it very, very simple guacamole. It's more like an avocado mash, but I really, really, it's like my kids love it. It's just, I think the simplicity of it is what makes it such a hit because it doesn't have, all the veggies and stuff in it. And if you want that, you can easily put in a spoon of your pico with it, but it keeps it simple for my kids.
Paula sent you.
Well, thank you, Paula. Appreciate that. Let's get our garlic salt in here. Now, garlic salt works better than garlic powder and salt because garlic salt has, when it dissolves with the lime juice and the stuff, it has a smoother texture. Garlic powder has a more gritty texture, which is again why I like it because it's almost like garlic juice and salt that has been like dehydrated. So it flakes up and it's just very smooth and lovely. We're going to use my fork here to mash up our guacamole. The fork is going to give you a really great texture on your guac. Nice and smooth, but like chunky at the same time. So you're not going to have big chunks, but you'll have the perfect amount. Take a pause here because it looks like I've got my skillet nice and hot here. And we're going to put in our steak. We're going to do a little at a time. We want each piece to have its own spot on our skillet. So we'll do this in batches. And we don't want to overcook this. I essentially want to sear it off on both sides, leave a little pink in the middle so it's still tender. And this is seasoned with our Fiesta seasoning, garlic, salt, onion powder, and fresh lime juice. And what I'm going to do is when I'm done with this, I'm actually going to put it on our bed of onions and peppers to give it some of that onion and pepper flavor. So we'll flip it and then we can transition it over there. And they cook up pretty fast, which is a nice thing about them. While that's waiting, I'm going to get my skillet heating up so that we can toast up our tortillas in a little bit. So I like to get it nice and warm, but not on a super high temperature. Here. Got our avocado mash here. And again,
You have a question? Can you show the Fiesta seasoning? Which one do you use?
yes. So you can get it on Amazon, like Amazon Fresh or Whole Foods is where I've gotten it. I don't know if they sell it any other places. Those are the two places that I get it. But my Amazon Fresh delivery, I can get it there. And then I've gotten it from the Whole Foods store. So I think it's one of those companies. But it's like a salt-free, like kind of Mexican seasoning, but it's not too overpowering. It has, some dried tomatoes, like cumin, chili powder. It has those nice, like earthy flavors to it, but it's not over the top or super strong. And it's nice to use in there because then I add in the garlic salt and the onion powder to get a little bit more flavor to it. Okay, let's get our Little pieces of our flat iron steak flipped over here. I know when they're ready to flip over, you got this beautiful sear on them, but when you start to see kind of a brownish ring form around them, that was when you know. And we're cooking these at a fairly high temperature, right around a 6.5 to a 7. So we get a good sear on it, but not enough to make our oil go smoking. And then this second side, very, very quick. You're essentially searing off that second side because when we move it over into the skillet, it will continue to cook. But I want them to be a very tender piece of meat. I feel like a lot of times when you get fajitas and stuff from the store or from like a restaurant, it will be like really thin pieces of meat that are overcooked. I want mine to be more of like a tender piece of steak. Okay. We'll pop these over into our things. The heat of them, the residual heat will continue them to cook. And I'm going to put them on this bed of onion and pepper so they get that residual onion and pepper flavors for it. But I don't like to cook them together because I find if you cook them together, then nothing gets cooked well, you know. Get these last bits on here. We'll sear these guys off. And beautiful. And again, don't just drop your big pot of meat down. You want each piece to get its own little spot on your pan so it gets a great sear on it. Otherwise, if you just throw it on there and you don't have them laying out, the meat will cool the pan down and cause it to kind of leak out all of their juices without getting that great saute mark on it, which is giving you that nice flavorful crust.
Ivy sent you it.
Well, thank you, Ivy. We appreciate that.
And did you get your oven fixed?
I did get my oven fixed. It's been such a blessing, I will say, to have it back in working order. This week has been like a week of like appliances, I will say. I've got our oven fixed. I got a new washer and dryer unit for my birthday. I got a new vacuum cleaner for it. And then for Valentine's Day, my husband, I know this is kind of silly, but I've been wanting it, got me this toaster that I really been wanting. It's a Smeg toaster. It's really ridiculous and bougie, but it's in this green color that I love, and it's way more than you should ever spend on a toaster, but I love it, and he got that for me, so it should be here tomorrow or something like that. So I'm super excited. But I need a 4-slice toaster because we're a big family. And I wanted a long, skinny one or a longer one like this, but I could do long pieces of sourdough toast because when you make sourdough bread, it doesn't always fit in your little square slots. So very, very excited for that. Before I get that, let's mince up some garlic in here for our little creme fraiche. So I feel like I won like the appliance lottery at this house right now because everything is up and going and it's really nice. I've been to have our washer and dryer has been wonderful. I've been like doing so many loads of laundry to kind of catch up because we were out of commission. And we're a big family, and we're kind of like deciding, do I get 2 or because I was like, oh, we're such a big family and I do so much laundry, but do I really need 2 units of each? Instead, I got the really big, large capacity one. So like the 5 cubic one. And I didn't realize how big that was, but it is amazing. It gives me like almost 2 loads per one load. So it's like the same as having 2 units. And it makes me so happy. It's weird because who would ever say that they're happy doing laundry? Not me. But it is really nice. And I like take them out and I'm like, oh, these clothes are getting dry the first few cycles instead of running it over and over. So, yeah, very happy with that. We're going to flip these guys over, do a quick sear on the other side. And, oh, they smell delicious. And we'll let them kind of cook up real quick and then we'll move them over. Yeah. Beautiful. I'm going to turn my little warmer on right here. So keep it nice and warm. Because you know when they come out, they typically come out in your little cast iron skillets on there. Okay, let's get our garlic in here. And then we're going to take our cream, because we're making a creme fraiche. I'm going to pour it over. I think that should be good. Do a little bit of garlic salt. We already have cilantro and green onions in there. Nice little shake of garlic salt. And then we're going to squeeze our fresh lime juice over the top of this. And this is going to cause our cream to kind of curdle up into like a sour cream. See if I can get all of it. To open up another one if I don't need to. Beautiful. You wash my hands real quick. We'll toss our meat here, get it off. And then we're going to be toasting up our tortillas. And I've just got to grate up some cheese on here. Here we go. I'm going to turn this off. And again, I want them to have a nice little pink center in the middle so you don't overcook them. I'm going to put them on my warming center over here with my peppers and my onions. There we go. Give them a nice toss to coat them up, bring those flavors in, just like you have it. But again, I don't like to cook them in the same pan at the same time because then they don't get the right texture on them. What typically happens is your onions and peppers get mushy and your meat gets overcooked. Okay, let's pop. Perfect, nice and toasty. We got some tortillas. We love flour tortillas in this family. So we are going to be using our flour tortillas. I'll warm them up on our pan here, and then we'll make our little fajitas after we grate up some cheese. I think I can do 4 at a time, which is nice. And we just are warming them up that way, you know, not toasting them to where they're crunching, but warming them up on both sides so they get malleable, don't fall apart. I've got some queso blanco here, or like quesadilla cheese. And we're going to grate this, and I'll put it in a nice little bowl, and then we'll stir up our creme fraiche in just a second. And then it will be time to make our delicious fajitas.
You get this comment quite a bit that they find themselves saying, "There we go." Watching you.
I know. I always sit there and I'm like, you point out, I'm like, oh, do I really say that? And then I'm like, oh, I do say that a lot. It's funny how you don't even realize what you're saying or what your filler words are. I just remember growing up, my parents are like, you can't say or you have to have a real filler word for it. And so I've always like, I guess made weird little sayings then. There we go. I realize I just said it. Yeah. Okay. You know, every time I say it in my mind, I think and this kind of throws back to being a kid when Nintendo 64 came out. And I got it for Christmas. My brother and I got it as a Christmas present together. But we had Mario Party 64. And Mario, he always goes, here we go. You know, he goes, ooh.
Chat's going through all your usuals like fabulous, just a smidge on there.
Okay. We've got this on here. Got our cheese for it. I'm going to take my creme fraiche now. Give it a nice stir. That lime juice should thicken it up on here to make it. And then I'm going to kind of smash the garlic and that green onion, that cilantro into the base of this. So this is going to be a lovely herby kind of creme fraiche, which is it's going to really bring those flavors to a nice little drizzle on there. Just use that in sub of sour cream, but gives you a lot more flavor. Because as you know, my oldest daughter and I, we love our sauces. We like the sauces. Here we go. Get these flipped over, and then I think we're going to be about ready to assemble here. I'm going to move this over here. I love this thing. This is one of my, in my mind, I was going to be using this all the time. My romantic ideal, I'll set out dinner and have this beautiful display. I get this from my mother. It's crazy because I realized that reality, we don't set out and make beautiful things.
Can you go over the salsa?
Yes, so for our salsas, we've got our corn salsa, which if you've ever had the Chipotle like corn salsa, it's just like that, with corn, sweet peppers, red onions, green onions, cilantro, and lime juice. And then for our Pico de Gallo, it's a mild tomato salsa with tomatoes, sweet peppers, red onions, green onions, cilantro, garlic salt, and lime juice. Our guacamole, which is a really basic guacamole, just avocados, fresh lime juice, and garlic salt. And then we've got this lovely herby creme fraiche, which is made from fresh cream, lime juice, garlic, green onions, and cilantro, and some garlic salt. So we've got our first batch of tortillas. Slide these guys over here. Got my little dip central here. This just makes me happy. I could live off of dips. I said, I just love them. And I was deciding between which little like fajita holders I was going to use because I have some really ridiculous ones. I have some dinosaur ones, which I bought for my children, but secretly I love. But I have like a Stegosaurus and a T-Rex, and you put your little tacos or your fajitas in them. Love them. They're the cutest things ever. Completely unnecessary and take up so much room, but I do love them. Okay. Put these guys over because you don't need much to get there. And I think we are going to be ready to build up our fajitas. And then our dip central. Okay, so I've got my little sombreros. See, they're really cool. They hold it like that. See, my husband's like, you don't need, this is nonsense. I said, it is cool because you want your stuff to be held together. There you go. Look at that. See, solves the problem of your little tacos or your fajitas from falling over. Not mine. We're going to fill them up with our flat iron steak and our sauteed veggies. We've got onions and peppers. Do a little bit in each one. Here we go. Perfect. See, look how well these hold up together. Build this deliciousness here because you got to have your taco trio because they're always served in threes. And then, because we got to make them the way I love them, we've got our corn salsa. A little bit of love right here. And then we need our pico. More deliciousness in every bite. And before we add our guac, I like to do my cheese. So this is our quesadilla cheese. And then little dab of guac because, you know, guac is delicious and extra. And then we'll drizzle it with our little cilantro creme fraiche here with lime juice and green onions and fresh garlic, which will add that nice little zing for it. And it's just kind of a super easy, delicious dinner. And of course, because we have dips galore, you got to serve them with some tortilla chips for a complete and delicious dinner. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I try to do live cooking shows every single day, kind of show you what we're making for our family and hopefully teach you guys something along the way. Again, we do upload all of our videos to the link on our page, so if you ever want to recreate any of these recipes at home, you can just go to our page and search for what we made. We've got our flat iron fajitas with our corn salsa, pico de gallo, guacamole, and cilantro creme fraiche. And you can always watch and cook along with me again. We also have a link to our Amazon storefront that has all of our different cooking gear and gadgets in it. I've got my hex pad, griddle pan, my saute pans, knives, cutting boards, all the different things that I use in the kitchen I have in there for you guys to check out. But again, guys, thank you so much for joining us here. Don't forget to like and subscribe.